Welcome to Film Freaks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
Eddie Williams.
And here we are doing yet another audio review of a horror film, another popular horror film that came out, well, of a franchise that came out earlier this year that actually got a limited, well, it didn't get a limited release, but actually, yeah, it got a limited release in theaters while also getting a video-on-demand release. And basically, this film that we're discussing is Leatherface of 2017. Now, for those of you who have been following our channel, this is the actually a prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre that began in 1973 or 74. And for those of you who have been following our channel, me and Eddie actually did an audio discussion of all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. I think about a year ago, and you're welcome to check out those. That discussion we did of it on SoundCloud and on YouTube, where we pretty much went over every single one of the movies, including 3D of 2013. Yep. And so this one, Leatherface 2017, basically is a prequel to going back farther than the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, where it basically shares the same continuity as the original.
I do want to say this before we get started. Rest in peace to Tobe Hooper, who created it.
Yes, this was actually the last film, one of the last films that Tobe Hooper actually executive produced on, and it actually, we did a tribute to him about a month ago when we watched It. So, I'm sorry, a couple of months ago when we were doing a discussion of Stephen King movies, we brought up Tobe Hooper, and we also did a memoriam of him. So may he rest in peace, and his legacy will always live on with us. And basically, with this film, Leatherface, it deals with the early years of Leatherface as a child growing up, and it deals
his origin story.
Yeah, which was actually previously told in another film called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, where it was basically a prequel to also the remake of 2003. But this
until that production company decided to cancel and moving on with those and got rid of the franchise.
Yeah, and so now going forward, this is the same company that did this film, also did 2013's Texas Chainsaw 3D, where this one actually shares the same continuity as far as characters and events that take place in that film, and also the original one directed by Tobe Hooper. So in this film, we deal with basically the Sawyer family in their early life. It actually takes place in the early 50s, actually, where the family is dealing with, dealing with killing people and everything, and we're introduced to a young Leatherface at a young age, and his name is Jedediah, because it's revealed basically in the trailers. You get the idea that this little kid that's in the film will become Leatherface.
Yeah, and he's celebrating his birthday.
Yeah.
Which you get in the trailer. Yeah, and his first birthday present was handed to him as a chainsaw.
Yes.
To use. Yep.
Yep. And basically the rest of the film deals with the rise of Leatherface and how he comes to pretty much become who he is, the famous killer as we know, because it actually shifts starting from the 1950s to the 1960s, where the character he gets sent to a mental institution after some shit goes down in the beginning of the movie. And we'll get to this later, because we're only gonna keep spoilers to like a minimum in this review. We'll get to our spoilers later, but for right now, we're just letting you know the details of it. But to basically go into a little backstory, I can honestly say that I had very mixed reactions when I first heard about this film, because after Texas Chainsaw 3D came out, I was severely pissed to the point that I never wanted to see another Texas Chainsaw movie again.
Yeah, I mean, we get that it's got a cult following, and, to each of their own, that you guys like it, cool. But to me, I thought 3D, I mean, even Generations was pretty bad, and the other, you got some ones that are probably mixed. 3D, I absolutely fucking hate to a passion. There was nothing redeem ability in that film. Even the characters were so cringy. I'm going to tell you right now, it took me quite a few times to watch this film. It was that bad. It was terrible beyond recognition. It's the only one I truly hate.
Yeah.
And I will not watch. I will literally go on a marathon and skip 3D.
Yeah. And And I was too, like, and I saw that film in the theater, and the only thing that I had any redeemable quality of it was the 3D. But after that, that's a film that to this day I still don't own, and it's only, if I ever put myself down to have a collection, I would have to get it at a very cheap price, or someone would have to basically send it to me as a gift.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you would probably skip it a lot.
yeah, and what got me really, like, dissatisfied was the fact that this film coming out was yet another fucking prequel. Because, as we established, which we already saw, basically, that's what I'm saying. Because, even though this doesn't share the same continuity as the remake from 2003, that film, the remake, had a prequel of its own in 2006 called The Beginning. So, it felt like they were just remaking The Beginning again. So...
not only that, the movie was having a hard time because it wanted to be something, but it just kept falling apart on set, and it's just like pretty much the Leatherfaces for here on out is probably just going to be straight to videos now because, I mean, 3D was fucking terrible, and I think that's the reason why these movies are going straight to video now.
Yeah, and not to mention this actually premiered straight to DirecTV before it even got a wider attention in limited theaters. So there seems to be like this trend that they're doing now where they'll show films that are like, low budget, they'll put them on like video on demand or something, and then giving them a very limited release. And basically, to kind of get things going, like I can say that upon seeing the film, believe me, I wanted to go into this film hating it like I already called it, but much to my surprise, it was at least better than what I expected it to be.
Yeah, I was like you. I actually expected this movie out of the cult Jeepers. I mean, we haven't seen Jeepers Creepers 3 yet, and some of the ones that are coming out with franchises that are coming out in movies this year, I actually predicted this one to be the worst. And I was actually, after watching it, it wasn't too bad. There's a lot of problems with it, but it was actually watchable.
Yeah, I can honestly say that this film is really, really flawed, but I will say it is quite a step up from the last film. Quite a lot.
Oh, big time. Yes.
Yeah. So, to basically get into my pros, I will say that for about the first 2/3 of the film, the way that it's kind of building with the... because I'd say the first 2/3 of the film deals with basically a story involving the family, like the Sawyer family, and then it dives into a mental institution plot, and then also you have this...
gets into a crime.
Yeah, where it actually basically becomes like Halloween, where if Michael Myers escaped with other convicts and they ran a riot inside Smith's Grove. And then it becomes
kind of like natural born killers mixed with the bad cop from House of Thousand Corpses mixed with Leatherface.
Yeah. Now, before we get to... Now, keep in mind, we're going to have spoilers later in the discussion, but for right now, we'll say that the film also has other characters in this movie that are basically the equivalent of Mickey and Mallory Knox from Natural Born Killers, and that they're crazy and stuff. And you also have characters like the sheriff, played by Stephen Dorff, who's basically the equivalent, if you cross the sheriff from... I'd say he's more equivalent to the sheriff from The Devil's Rejects, William Forsythe's character. Crossed a little bit with the sheriff from Texas Chainsaw, the remake, in how brutal he is, but also in how he's basically wanting these guys dead.
And keep in mind, these characters like the Mallory, and then you had the guy that's resembled the dude from Texas Chainsaw, like Arlie Emery and all them. These are not Sawyer family people.
They're not, because the deal is that Stephen Dorff's character, who's the sheriff, to basically not go into too much detail, but there is a backstory that happens at the beginning of the film that makes it to where he basically wants them pretty much killed. Well, at first he wants to bring them to justice and pretty much shut them down and everything, and get them in jail and everything like that. But as the film goes along, you can see that he basically he realizes how fucked up they are, and he basically wants them dead.
Yep.
So in a way, it kind of becomes like how the sheriff did in The Devil's Rejects. But I mean that in a good way, because as the film goes along, you can see all the stuff that he's dealing with, and keep in mind, this film's, one of its film's flaws that I'll say like straight away is that there isn't really a relatable character in this. Like, or not relatable, but like, there isn't really a likable character that you root for in this film. This is a film that you basically are seeing people getting killed, but they're really not really they're not really good. They're
not good or bad.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know whether you're supposed to root for the bad guys or rooting for the people that are getting killed.
Yeah, you don't know who to root for.
Yeah, so that to me is very different than, that's what I'm saying. So now I'll say to get to pretty much of my pros, I do like I was saying, I do like the film the way it was going, because there actually is a character in this that I will say that as it goes along, you can really get into, like, the film kind of has a mystery level, because when the film gets into the mental institution stuff, when Leatherface now goes basically by a different name in the mental institution, the movie is making you guess which one is actually Leatherface because he has a name change. And the Sawyer family, the mother, Verna, played by Lily Taylor, she's actually wanting to get him out and bring him home. And the thing is, the doctors won't reveal the doctors won't reveal who the person is, and so basically the audience, us, are trying to figure out who he is. But I will say, before we get into it later, there's a red herring. There's actually something in the film. There's someone in the film that there's one of the characters in the film you're really thinking is Leatherface, and the way the film was going, I was really getting into it.
Yeah, and I did too. I was getting into like the three 2/3 of it, like the first 2/3. But we'll save the spoiler for later. But I like that. I like Stephen Dorff's performance.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've actually, you know what? For a long time, I've actually felt like Stephen Dorff was a very underrated actor because I used to watch him in a lot of movies that he did, like Blade and all that, and I think the guy is a really talented actor. I just feel like he's not getting quite his roles like he used to. But he is very brutal in this movie. Like, even though he is trying to, because in this movie he plays a really he is trying to basically take down
Sawyer family, but he plays also a corrupt cop that also is known for corruption.
Yeah,
and he uses his corruption for advantage when he wants to kill, go after the Sawyer family and these kids that escape too. But he's also known to also treat victims like shit too. Yeah,
so really, he's one that you kind of get as sort of a guy you're following throughout the film, but that's what the film is doing. It's like, it's not really having you root for anyone as it goes along. So, but I will say, yeah, like you were saying, I do like Stephen Dorff's performance. He was very intense in parts, especially this part we get to later when he comes across the escaped patients. And then another praise I will also say is that the girl Lily Taylor, who played the mother, I thought she was really great too, and I actually really enjoy her as an actress. And I think that she really was really intimidating a lot in this movie, and
I did think that. I wasn't too sold on her in the trailers, but after seeing it, I agree with you. I thought she did really good as the Mama Sawyer.
Yeah, in a way, like, her performance, I'm saying this in a complimentary way. I feel like it's kind of like, reminds me a little bit of Annie Wilkes a little bit from, like, Misery. How she kind of comes across as very, kind of calm and very,
nice.
Kind of nice, basically. But then when you really get her to that point where she snaps,
Oh yeah, she's like a split personality, which I guess you can buy the why. That's good. That's a good thing. That's a pro, because you can buy this woman, and the Sawyer family is fucked in the head because of mental illness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And not just that, but there's also other little things. There's also other characters in this film too that do lead up to eventually the first film that I actually found very interesting. But we'll get to this later because it's kind of a nitpick. But I like the way it tied into events of the first film as well. Like, you'll get characters that are present in the original film, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I found very fascinating. And we also get a little bit more history surrounding one character that was present in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre that gets more of a actual, like, early appearance in this film.
Yeah.
And also, another pro I give to is I actually really enjoy the way it was shot too, like the cinematography.
Yeah. Yes.
It actually felt like it was a really good, theatrically shot movie, even though it was straight to video.
It was. You can tell that the director was actually. I mean, the cinematography is amazing. It has a great atmosphere in the woods. It's really menacing with the fog. It just makes you feel like it's a Texas movie. But you can tell the director was attending to sent this in theaters, like big time theaters, but he didn't get it.
I know, which was really sad because the first one made quite a lot. I mean, the last one, 3D was quite a big hit. So you would figure, they would release it in a wide release. But.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the way it was shot. Especially the film does have some cool atmospheric parts. Especially there's parts where they're running like in the woods, and it has like all this foggy atmosphere. I actually thought that really was worked pretty good.
And the camera work is really good. You know what? That actually also kind of remind me of the 2003 remakes and stuff, because you got to give the 2003 remake that it was pretty menacing shot.
It was, yeah. I love the grisly look of it, where it's kind of like kind of has like this yellow look to it. That kind of reminds me of that look, and I'm not trying to compare. I'm just saying the look of it in a way kind of reminds me of like the look similar to Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Yeah.
In a way, but I enjoy it though. It looks good. And another thing too was. This film doesn't hold. I mean, it holds back at parts, but I do say I did also enjoy the gore for what they used with it.
Yes, this movie does have a lot of gore, and I enjoyed. Yeah, there were some parts that kind of they kind of pan away, but they still show the aftermath of what it looked like.
Yeah.
But there's parts like, there's a certain character in here, he gets it really fucking brutal.
Yeah.
It shows it. I'm like, ooh, that's so fucking painful. I mean, it has its parts, and it's gruesome. But then again, at the same time, there is some panaways.
Yeah, and that's what we'll get to our cons here in a little bit. But another thing I would say is that I also did enjoy the way that the film is also kind of keeping it more kind of straightforward, because for a while you're following the first 2/3 of the film kind of feel more like a run on the run type of movie, which the direction was at least interesting, because I like that they were kind of deviating away than a traditional Texas Chainsaw film.
Performances of the other characters that we haven't really mentioned yet, that like you get the Mallory and her boyfriend equivalent from Natural Born Killers, and they're doable. I'll get to a con on certain thing that they do that I didn't care for, but majority of the people were doable.
Yeah, I would say that
3Ds. The characters in 3D, everybody was cringy. I just could not stand anybody in that film.
Yeah,
I can tolerate everybody.
That's what I'm saying. The characters in this are at least more tolerable in this one. They're serviceable. They didn't annoy me quite as much as the last film did, and they at least had better actors in this one than in 3D. Now, here's basically where we pretty much get to our cons. I will say that even though I was enjoying...
Oh, wait, one more pro before we get in the cons. When it does reveal the Leatherface and stuff, like the face and all that, his way he looks, his teeth, and his mouth, his face and all that stuff, I will say I did like the makeup on that.
I did too. I
did look like in the mirror how it kind of resembled the first movie.
Yeah, I will say that the practicals they use for Leatherface are very good. Like, it looks really authentic, and even we'll get to it. Well, it comes at the end. It comes in the trailer, but basically the part where he puts the mask on, that's really cool too.
Yeah.
But now here's pretty much where we get to our cons. So, as much as I was going along with the first 2/3 of the film, when it reaches the third act, it started losing me, because...
Yeah, it
now,
does.
Before we...
Me too, yeah.
Okay, now, this is basically now where we're going to have to get in some spoilers. So, for those of you who are listening, these are just
spoiler warning.
This is your only spoiler... This is your spoiler warning for the film, because this is something that we really want to talk about. Basically, the entire film is leading up to where you're kind of thinking that this guy who's in this mental institution, who's like this kind of bigger guy, his name is Bud. And there's another character in the film named Jackson. And throughout the film...
They call him Jackson until the end.
Yeah.
And then Jedediah.
Basically, the film is trying to tricking you into thinking that supposedly the bigger guy, who looks and really acts a lot like Leatherface, is supposed to be Leatherface. But guess
And
what?
I'll tell you now, that was a wasted opportunity because that motherfucking kid nailed it.
He did, yes. It basically, this film makes you really believe that this guy, who's, keep in mind, this guy is huge. He's able to take 2 bullets and have like really intimidating strength, and he's also able to take a guy's head and smash it on that window at the beginning, kind of like the...
Smash everybody's heads and break it and smash it in this.
That's what I'm saying. He's able to pick up a guy with his bare hands and stuff, and he's actually the one that gets killed instead of the other guy. Because
and then the other guy gets shot in the fucking face, which that reveals why Leatherface is deformed in the face. He took a bullet.
Yeah, which I understand that's what they were going for, but that was such a wasted opportunity because the guy who looked and acted like Leatherface, I would have bought more because he was like a lot more quieter.
Yeah, I get that the director wanted to do something different and say, "Oh my God, it's a twist, like Jigsaw type, like Saw type shit, like twist." But I still don't think they should have done the twist. What I thought they should have done was Jackson Jedediah, aka the Leatherface in this one. What they should have done is kept him as the kid because, and then they could have went with like the kid gets shot, which sets off Leatherface to become, instead of what he was at the beginning, where he's kind of a quiet and tamer guy. This is what sets him off. He loses his only family, the one he only cared for. And they could have shot Leatherface, the big dude, in the face, and that's why he became Leatherface, with the face.
That's what I'm saying. And not to mention...
It's a wasted opportunity film. It has all its pieces, but they don't use them.
Well, not just that, but also keep in mind, this time period that takes place in is 1965. The original film the original film took place in 1973. Now, if we're led to believe that this is the same guy who, keep in mind, is skinny and he's meant to short too, we're led to believe that this is the same guy who went 8 years of gaining weight when he's basically in a family that doesn't hardly get able to survive unless they're cannibals.
Well, it's not just that. It just doesn't make it logical.
It doesn't add up.
The guy is a littler guy. He ain't going to grow any bigger because he's actually kind of a 21 years old in this film. So he's not going to grow another 10 inches, maybe get fatter, but he ain't going to grow taller. And the guy is really not that tall of a kid. The dude that was playing that should have been Leatherface, he was a big motherfucker.
That's what I was saying. They could have used him because, first of all, this other guy, the guy who looked like Leatherface, he had more of his strength.
Yeah, he did. And this guy, he just seemed like you can punch this this fucking dude that's Leatherface now, and it's like he takes it, like he can barely take a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Damage. I'm like, oh man. So the wasted opportunity. This movie has all the right pieces. It's not terrible. Like they didn't go with anything. This movie has all the pieces there. It's just they don't put them together right. The director was wanting to, trick audiences, do this big reveal, and wanted to do that. He focused on that so much he didn't really think it through, what he was doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And another con I have, too, is I did also feel like the way that they're building... I felt like some of the stuff they do with the Sawyer family does feel rushed at times. Like the beginning, we basically get into where, it's showing young Leatherface and the family at first, which does build up to something interesting. It's just that first of all, if you remember in the original film made a big deal where they were cannibals. In this one, at no point do they establish they're cannibals. They just kill people.
That's the thing that killed me, was the tone of that. This movie really goes and does it to more where they're killing. They don't really focus at all on eating people at all. It just feels like they capture people. That's pretty much, and not only that, it's just not randomly catching. It's pretty much kind of it is, but it's kind of more like they were trespassing their property. So it's kind of like more they're getting revenge because those people pissed them off.
Yeah. Now I get that this is
more just killers. And they don't really eat, but they do kind of show little things, but it doesn't go into that to know that this is a cannibal family. They're just killers.
That's what I'm saying. Now, you could argue the fact that, because throughout the film, it shows that the town is still basically open with a lot of stuff, and the farming still going on and stuff. Because one thing I'll give at least the other prequel, the beginning, was that in that film, it was pretty much showing that the town was pretty much dying out. So they had no choice but to survive. With this one, they didn't do that because they felt like, I guess because it was still early, they didn't want to do the cannibalism.
Well, not only that, it like you said, and that's another con I have. Because they don't fucking really, the town is like thriving with farming, they can eat regular food. So I just don't get the whole cannibalistic thing. I can get it better in the Texas Chainsaw at the beginning better than this one.
Yeah. Well, and another con, too, I had was, even though the performances are good for the most part, I wasn't too big on the nurse girl.
The girl they capture and take with them.
Yeah, her, I felt like at times she could get really annoying because almost every scene is her trying to get away, and she's always saying, let me go, let me go. I'm like, it's like literally every scene she's in, she's always running away after she gets captured.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's repetitive.
Yeah.
It's repetitive. She keeps doing that, and the way she keeps saying their lines. She probably said the same certain lines like 10, 12 times. Her dialogue is made up of almost the same words.
Yeah.
And it kind of got annoying on that one. Yeah, I didn't really care for her too much. I also didn't like the fact that they focused on the Mallory kind of like natural-born killers. They actually overpower the villainous in them over the Sawyer family.
Yeah, I'm mixed on that because it is a con, but it's also kind of a pro. Because my issues with this,
pro and con, because I did like their performance.
Yeah, I do like them. I did think they pulled it off, the whole authentic look they had. Because one of my cons as well is that even though this takes place in the 50s and 60s, some of the casting choices they have in this film does not resemble what would appear in that time period. Maybe that's a nitpick, but some of the performances, such as the guy who plays Jed in the film, Jackson, I felt like he could have been played by Taylor Kitsch, and he would have looked like he looked too.
Looks like.
That's what I'm saying. He looked too, pretty boyish for that time period.
It's not a nitpick, man, because I'm going to tell you right now, I actually see that. So I agree with you on that. I noticed that in the very first two couple, the ones that's driving down, they see him in that little, they thought they were about to hit a pig and a little animal and stuff. That couple where that girl gets out and that guy, the way he's talking, it resembles a 2017 young couple.
Yeah, and that also goes with the sheriff's deputy that's in the film. There's this corrupted deputy that's actually played by the guy who played off of Finn Jones, who played off of Game of Thrones, and he was also in recently Iron Fist. That guy looked fucking out of place. I don't know whose idea was it to cast him in the role of that deputy, but I mean, keep in mind, I know this seems like I'm nitpicking. It's just that I felt like the way that he was portrayed did not feel like he fit well in that time period.
And my other little nitpick here, and this is just a little nitpick, I do wonder why whenever the two boys, Leatherface and his brother, whenever they're young and little and they kill that girl at the beginning, I always wondered why the cops never went through the Sawyer's house to do investigation of why the kids are the way they are and not see all those bones.
Yeah, that's what I was always wondering.
They would have investigated the house.
Well, and not just that, but throughout the film, that's another thing too, is that basically this is the same problem that kind of goes with the other prequel, the beginning. Because it's a prequel, you pretty much know what's going to happen because there really is no really suspense of anyone that could survive because we know every character in this film will die. That's basically a victim. Yeah. So, and not just that, but also, since this is also a prequel, if this was meant to be it's taking place after the original film, the cops would have came as soon as they figured out the sheriff was dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way that it would be unbelievable. You know how law enforcement would work. And in the random part where they find that girl in the middle of the woods, the cop did. I'm like, oh, what? There's.
It's on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So they find this girl, and this cop finds her out in the middle of the woods, and I just found it how convenient, how he find her out in the middle of the woods. It's like me finding a damn toothpick up in Mount Everest.
Yeah. It's like spawning from GTA.
Yeah, like fucking spawning in GTA 5. It's like, damn, could you have maybe spawned an ambulance, dude? I just found that. I just found that inconvenient, how convenient that was.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Shit like that is my issue with some of the parts of the movies. How random shit just like was there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Stuff would just conveniently happen, and
Yeah.
it's one of those films that it's serviceable. It's just that the more that you think about it, it feels like it could have had more potential. Because there's also characters in the film too that are part of the Sawyer family that you're kind of thinking in your head like, or I'm sorry, that are joined with them, like the Mickey and Mallory kind of equivalents. You're kind of thinking one of them is kind of the equivalent of like Chop Top, basically. If they would have kept the continuity.
You know what I was thinking in the movie? I thought the girl Mallory version. I thought she was actually a sister to them.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, because she was.
If you remember, the cop tells the lady, the mom at the beginning, that he needs all her kids.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the other kids?
Unless they got out early or something, but it's never. I don't remember it like happened after that.
Fucking Sawyer. They would have been there, so that's like a continuity. That's like something that like they never went to, and they brought it up in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So they're Sawyers. They would never went on anywhere. That just doesn't make sense why they did that. That was a little con. Here's a little thing that I'd also like to bring up. This is kind of like a cool Easter egg. They actually do something really clever, where they have one of the person he's in most of the movie. He's actually looks and acts and sounds like Matthew McConaughey from Next Generation.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
There's a part also where they do this razor scene where one of the nut people are cutting this girl up, and he's actually hinting he's Chop Top, even though they're really not.
I know. See, if this movie would have kept more of the continuity of Part 2, the original Part 2, it would have been really cool to see that. And, yeah, so I will say that the film did have me going for it, like I was saying earlier, with the 2/3 of the film. But if they would have at least done something better with the writing standpoint in the third act, it would have gave us a better. It would have gave us a better prequel.
The turn off, you do feel heavily turned off in the final act, but you don't get severely turned off. You just get kind of like, oh man, missed opportunities.
Yeah, but overall though, with that being said, I will say that this was a lot better than expected. And keep in mind, it's something that if I owned it, I'd probably own it if it came like really cheap, like on DVD or Blu-ray or something, just to kind of own with the collection. 3D,
like $5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's serviceable, but it's definitely something it's just pretty much there, Yeah. But overall, I'm yeah, that's what I'm saying. But way better than the last film for sure.
I think I could take a shit better in 3D.
Yeah.
And then take a video of it and it'd be better in 3D. That fucking movie was terrible. Oh my god, it was fucking horrible.
Yeah. But overall, though, with that being said, I'm going to give Leatherface pretty much a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to give Leatherface a 5.5 out of 10.
Fair enough. Well, for those of you who have also seen Leatherface, let us know of what you guys thought about in the comments below. And also, let us know your thoughts as well on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the other films, including 3D from 2013. And feel free to like, and if you like what we see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. And check out some of our other reviews as well. We'll include the link for the Texas Chainsaw discussion we did.
Retro.
And you can also feel free to check out our website at filmfreaks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
All right, later.